to the recently canceled podcast with Von Fry.
Hey, how goes it? Welcome to episode 9 of the recently canceled podcast. I'm your host, Von Fry. So, today's show, I've got 3 topics for you. The first 2 available to everybody over on the YouTubes. The third, that's where we're going to get a little political, that's going to be left to the Patreon supporters. Patrons. So just $1 a month gives you full access to the recently canceled podcast, and you can check out the full podcast there with all 3 topics. So, first, I want to talk about the Cobra Kai Backlash, then I'm going to talk about Adam Carolla, and third, that last topic, the Trump-North Korea situation. So, last week, I wouldn't call necessarily a review. Again, I do not like the idea of reviewing a series. It hasn't been canceled. I didn't say Siri. Come on, get your act together, phone. Series. It hasn't been canceled. You haven't seen every episode. This is only the first season, so really, can you review it? You have to call a review on YouTube to get anybody to watch. That's how it has to go down, and I watch the freely available episodes. I am not signing up for YouTube Red. And a lot of the criticism I got was from viewers of YouTube, not content creators. You see, content creators understand the quagmire that this has brought upon us. You're in this situation where, you're in the partner program, and maybe you got your silver or gold play button for what X number of subscribers. Are you really going to be critical of Cobra Kai? You know, you don't want to get in hot water with Mama YouTube, right? You see, down where I'm at the below 3K level, I have a lot of leniency over what I get to say. I can throw shit at the wall, and maybe sometimes it sticks. And sometimes it sticks on YouTube. I am not above berating the hand that feeds me, because I'm being fed so very little. And I understand that when YouTube goes and commissions out a series and produces it, puts it together and gives it TV ads, begging it to be watched, and doesn't do the same for the rest of us, the you at YouTube, I kind of have a problem with that. And if you're one of these people who just sees YouTube as this free source of entertainment, and then, hey, if it wants to be like Netflix, there's so much YouTube I watch, I guess I could go ahead and pay for a few special YouTube Red shows. I can do that. Is that the way you think about this? Because I've seen YouTube morph in the time that I've been on it, 10 years. I've seen it turn into what it wasn't intended to be. And that's where we're at right now. We're at this crossroads where Google wants to turn YouTube into Netflix. And you're going to go, hey, nostalgia. I like The Karate Kid. I'm going to watch Cobra Kai. Here's my money. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to come and attack me for being the guy who tries to get you to see the truth. Okay? It doesn't matter if the series is good, decent, shit, awesome, whatever. You can't be subscribing to YouTube Red because you're actually hurting the you at YouTube. Why don't they just call this shit GoogleTube? Now, in 10 years, I've got my Netflix subscription, if Netflix is still around, and I've also signed up for Google Watch, GoogleTube, Google Play Video, whatever they're going to turn this into, because they don't really want you making content. How about that? How about if they say, hey, you want to make content on YouTube? Now you have to pay money. How about that? There's so many benefits. That's what some people are going to talk themselves into this stuff, aren't they? All right, so if you've come for the Carolla rant, this is it. I've been listening to Adam Carolla's, the Adam Carolla Show, such a creative title on Podcast One. Such a creative title for such a creative genius, right? Been listening to his show for 2 years, and I've seen a handful of episodes of The Man Show. I do or did like Jimmy Kimmel Live. I felt like of Once Conan was shoved out the door, and yeah, he's over at TBS, does he really compete against this lot? Yeah, I wouldn't say so, but of the late night hosts, he seems to have it together. Jimmy Kimmel's an excellent host. Adam Carolla, that doesn't necessarily allow you to live vicariously through Jimmy Fallon the way you seem to think so. There's been a few things that I've agreed with Adam Carolla, like the way to solve the crime problem is to make sure that the families are together. If the dad is working, comes home, raises the kid, that helps. Of course, the mom's doing the same. It takes the mom and the father to actually get these kids through the door, away from the, what is it? High school to prison pipeline. What this nonsense. Adam Carolla does a good job of calling out the nonsense, but he's hypocritical. There are things where I feel like he's so far out of touch with his, oh, hey, look at me. When you have a nanny and you have these kids in the private school and I get to, I have a $3 million Paul Newman car. Every other sentence, let me tell you about my Paul Newman car. Are people watching or listening to this podcast just because you have the Paul Newman car? Is that how this works? You have this rant you go on about internships, and I'm going to counter rant you. Internships should be against the law. Here's why, Adam. So you have a working class family and you have a more well-to-do family. Now suppose that each of these families have had offspring that attended X college, and now they need to get into the workforce and they're taking summer internships. Who is actually able to take that internship? Is it the guy who's struggling to pay his student loans, who has the family that can't actually afford to back him here? Even with scholarships, can a working class kid who has a scholarship to Yale, can they really afford to be doing the internships? Oh, well, the rich kids can't they? Because they have that support net. They don't need to go get a job that actually pays money. They can go play filmmaker for a living, can't they? That's what internships have become. Internships help destroy the lower and the middle class. It's making it to where the only way to get a job is to be the rich kid who got to work for free for a year, and then all of a sudden they're an executive when the time is right. Oh, isn't that just beautiful? My dad's well-connected. My dad's famous. I guess I'm going to get to be the intern because you guys don't want to piss off my dad if you ever want to work with him. Oh, well, wait. What does the poor kid get to do, huh? Oh, my dad's a nobody, so if you don't hire me, it doesn't hurt you. Oh, hey. Look how that works out, Adam. You seem to think that the motor, the drive is everything. You were in the right place at the right time. And granted, I have not met your mom and dad, but I know you don't much care for them. Let's just call them losers and keep it nice and civil like that. If your loser parents were, say, in the Midwest, where you couldn't have any kind of opportunity calling into radio and then building up some kind of radio career, what would you do then, huh? Well, guys, let me tell you, you can't go around doing stand-up comedy and theater in the Midwest. You were in Los Angeles. Since you are from Los Angeles and poor in Los Angeles, that is actually a leg up over anybody right now outside of that ecosystem. Because I'm trying to make things work online. You would think people would be able to appreciate content from diverse geography, but no. It all comes down to, oh, hey, are you in New York? Are you in Los Angeles? If not, why am I watching or listening to this? Oh, you're not going to get the guests that are on the old school media. You're not going to get those names to drop by your podcast, to be on your YouTube. It's not happening, so why should I give a shit about your opinion? You're just some loser in the Midwest, huh? It's just so easy to make fun of the Midwest, isn't it? Yeah, let's just go ahead and have a laugh at Kansas, because we don't have it as together as you guys over in Los Angeles, where you have mattresses in the lane, homeless camps taking over your city. And who even knows how you can get parking over there? Let me tell you, I have never used a parking meter in my life because I live from a non-shithole, all right? And then let's get into your little master class, Adam. So you're having the Adam Carolla podcasting masterclass, not actually associated with the masterclass that has given us such fine examples of learning to act from Kevin Spacey. Now, this is the Carolla cast, something set up over at Podcast One, where you're going to, teach people how to have a successful podcast? Oh, on a technical level? No, not really, because you're not really the technical guy. Oh, okay. So how do you have a successful podcast, Adam Carolla? Let's see. You get lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. You get lucky enough to ride the coattails of Jimmy Kimmel. I think you can agree with me on that one. And then you go and say, oh, I'm out the door. I don't need radio anymore. I'm going to start a podcast. I have an installed fan base that I can then parlay over to podcasting. Now, all of these guys seeking your advice, they're what famous? They have what representation? They've been on what TV show? They've been in what movie? Are they going to be able to use any of this advice? Seriously, you want them to pay you money, and then you kind of sort of teach an E-class, telling them that they should have been famous first and then start their podcast. Oh, but if their podcast is good, Podcast One might pick them up. Yeah, that's one of the incentives here. You get to actually, as like the winning podcast, pitch your podcast to Podcast One. Is this one of these stipulations, like with that Annabelle Creation movie, where it's like, hey, write in and tell us your ideas for a movie, and if you write in and tell us your ideas, we de facto own the ideas as part of this contest, and we have the right to maybe give you $50 for it. Is that how this works? These guys are pitching podcasts to Podcast One, and then they say, oh yeah, well, that's a great idea for a podcast, but sorry, we're going to have to pass. Oh wait, now a celebrity wants to do it. I guess you're out the door, and we'll go ahead and give this to a celebrity. Because that's the way Podcast One operates. It's, are you rich and famous, or were you rich and famous? Do you have fans? Have people possibly heard of you? Then we can give you a podcast. It's that simple. The trouble with the podcasting is that it's all built on who you were before you started the damn podcast. Isn't it, Adam? Oh, and don't tell me you have the number one most viewed, most subscribed, listened to podcast right now, because I gotta know that your numbers are sinking, or you wouldn't have split the episodes into two parts to jam both more ads down our throats, which are repetitive, by the way. I'm a vacuum cleaner, blah, 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 Geico. I'm a dry erase stick, whatever. So, Miss Lydia, come on, you guys have heard those ads. Yeah, it also gets your listen, download count up, right? Oh, hey, instead of downloading one episode today, we're downloading 2 episodes. We've just doubled our number of downloads. Hooray, everybody celebrate. It's going that well, Adam, huh? Because your pirate ship is sinking. Oh, and Adam, you want a little tip on filmmaking? I haven't seen The Hammer, but I've seen Road Hard. You really stick to what you know, don't you? Oh, hey, you taught some boxing, so you're making a movie about a boxer, where it's you as the boxer. Oh, hey, you did a little bit of stand-up, you've done some performing, you've been the also ran sidekick. Yeah, you make a movie about yourself again. Okay, maybe step outside your comfort zone a little bit to broaden your horizons, if you want to do a narrative. Now, as your documentaries go, I can tell you this, you keep making the same thing. I saw the 24-Hour War. It was as soulless and bland of a car doc I have seen. Yes, there's some information there. I understand that you're dealing with historical events, but you just sit down, whoever it was that was in X race, and you talk to them, and you talk to the guy who built the car, and that's what you did. That's really it. Okay, we'll sit you down, we're going to mic you up, and there we go. Did you spend any time really looking at the cars today? Or comparing how the track was then? Or give us anything modern here. That's what people want, is relevance in a documentary. How relevant is the 24-hour war to now? You look at history and you go, okay, it's a history lesson. Sure, whatever. But you want to win some awards, you want to get into some of these festivals, have an old guy want to become a race car driver. And you follow him on his season. You know, following the living subject, that's where docs are right now. That's the hot approach. You don't do that. You just go and you look at somebody who was a something. They were a driver. You know, what's this new one you got here called Uppity, right? You're having a hard time getting that one into festivals, aren't you? Because you're just following a guy who people aren't necessarily aware of, so there's very low interest, and they're wondering, why is this relevant? It took place in the past. We don't have any new discoveries, new footage. We're not really learning anything that's going to be pertinent to our lives. These festivals want documentaries that give an interesting story that can affect the viewer. You watch something like Super Size Me. What does that teach you about how you can change your eating habits? You watch the 24-hour war. Okay, I guess you're going to keep driving the speed limit. Oh, but you were going to do that anyways, weren't you? Okay, so that does it for the free version of the recently canceled podcast. If you want to hear this last topic, and hell, you probably don't, go ahead and hook it up over at Patreon. Chip in $1 a month. It's a lot cheaper than probably whatever Adam Carolla is pitching right now.